Hi friends, welcome to my channel Power BI Skills. In today's video, I'll be covering three most important DAX functions. These functions are all function, all except function, and all selected function. I'll also cover how and when to use these functions and what are the difference between these three functions. There are a lot of Power BI users who have confusion or doubt relating to the application of these functions. In case you are one of them, then I guarantee that after this video, you will not be having even 1% doubt on application of these functions. Friends, before we move ahead, I would request you to like and share my video and subscribe my channel in case you are new to my channel. This would motivate me to create more such useful contents for my viewers. Let's get started. This is the simple data set having the sales done by different salesmen. We also have the details of products they have sold and the name of states where they have sold their products. Friends, I'll be saving this link of this example in the description of this video, and I would encourage you to download this data set, and after this video you can practice these functions on your own. Now let's upload this example in Power BI. So you can see that I have uploaded this data set in Power BI, and I have created a simple table showing all the fields which were available in Excel sheet. Now let's say we have to calculate the value of sales done by each of the salesmen. For that, I'll first create a new measure. To create a measure, I'll have to go to data and I'll have to go to table 1, and clicking on three dots, I'll have to select new measure. I'll name this measure as sales by salesman, and to calculate the sum of sales by salesman, I'll use the sum function, sum, then I'll give the reference of the sales column, which is table 1 and sales column, and I'll hit enter. So friends, in case you are beginner in Power BI, then I would recommend you to first view my previous video on frequently used DAX functions in Power BI. This would help you to understand the fundamentals of DAX functions in Power BI. I have shared the link of this video which is appearing on your screen. You can click on this link and view the video on the frequently used DAX functions. So let's get back to our measure, which is sales by salesman. So let me bring this measure to my table. Now you would observe that the sales value we have calculated through our measure is exactly same as the sales value mentioned in the sum of sales column. But we wanted to calculate the total sales done by each of the salesmen. We can say that the sum function would not work in this scenario. Here we'll be using a different DAX function, which is a calculate function. Let me change our measure of sales by salesman, and use calculate function here. So friends, if you observe the syntax of calculate function, so we have two components here, expression and filter. The expression means the formula, like the function for sum, function for calculating maximum, minimum, etc. And then we have a filter. Before we calculate before we use this calculate function, let me first go back to the table. So in this table, if we read this table, in the first row, we can say that Mickey has sold cakes worth $96,000 in California state. Similarly, Jerry has sold cakes worth 61,600 US dollars in Massachusetts state. So if we go through this table, we can say all these columns which are appearing in this table, like name of the salesman, product name, and state, these are nothing but the filters. So if we have to calculate the sales of the salesman, then we will have to consider only the name of the salesman filter, and we have to ignore the product name filter and the state filter, because we would be needing the total sales made by each of the salesmen, irrespective of the product which they have sold or the state where they have sold their product. So let's go to the calculate function, and we'll first write our expression, which is sum table 1 sales, and then in the filter we'll be using all except function, or I would say all except filter. Here we have to give the reference of the table below, and then we have to mention the filter which we have to apply, which is the name of the salesman. So all except function tells the filter which we have to use here, like name of the salesman, and we have to ignore all the filters. It means all the filters should be ignored except the filter which is mentioned here would be applied. So the system would apply only the name of salesman filter and remove the product and state filter here. If I hit enter, now you would have observed the sales by salesman measure is showing different numbers. So now this is showing the sales done by Mickey for all products in all states. Similarly for Jerry and Tom. You can verify these numbers by comparing it in your Excel input data sheet and filtering it with the name of the salesman. Let's say if I have filtered it with Mickey, and if I see the total sales done by Mickey is 3,77,500, which is same as which is appearing here through our measure. Similarly for other salesmen as well. So this is how all except function works, where we have to specify what filters should be considered and what filters should be removed or ignored. So let's move on to our next function, which is all function. For that, I'll be creating a new measure. I'll go to table 1, select new measure. I'll name this measure as total sales. I'll use the same calculate function here. use the same expression sum, then reference of the sales column, and instead of all except, I'll be using all filter, and then I'll have to give the reference of the table 1, which is the table below. Now, just like all except, all function is also instructing the system that all these filters should be removed. In this particular scenario, we have to remove all the filters. In all except, we mentioned that only one filter would be applicable, all the other filters would be removed. But in all functions, we are instructing the systems that all the filters would be removed, be it name of the salesman, be it product name or state. So if we remove all the filters, what we'll get is the total sales by all the salesmen for all the products in all states. So let's calculate this. I'll hit enter and I'll bring this measure to my table. So you can see the total sales number which is appearing is same in all the rows because this is the total sale number, that sales done by all salesmen for all products in all states. So let's move on to our next function, which is all selected. Before I move on to the next function, let me first add a slicer here. To add a slicer, I will have to go to Home. I'll have to select New Visual. And from the visual options, I will select Slicer. In Slicer, I will add data, which is my product name. And I'll format the slicer. To format the slicer, I will have to go to Format and I will have to go to Slicer Settings, and from Options and Style, I'll have to select drop down. Now, in the slicer, if I select any product, let's say if I select cakes, you can see that below table is now showing the sales of cakes only done by all the salesmen in all states. But our total sale column is intact. It's not changed. It is still showing the total sales of all the products. So even if I select any other product, this number would remain constant. But if we select or if we use all selected function, in that case, our output would be dynamic. In that scenario, our sales value would change from the change in option we are selected in our slicer. So let's see this. Let me change this measure, our total sales measure. For that, I will go to data. I will go to the total sales measure and I will replace all with all selected. I'll hit enter. Now you have observed that my total sales number is changed. Since in the slicer we have selected a product chocolates, so the sales value is showing the total sales for chocolates only. If I select cakes, then this number will change to the total sales of cakes only. So this is the main difference in all and all selected. All selected will give us the dynamic number which will change with change in the filter or change in the option selected in the filter or slicer. So friends, I hope you understood all these functions and how to apply these functions in different scenarios. In case you have any query or doubt relating to whatever we have covered in our today's video, you can write a comment and I will reply back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, friends, and take care. Bye bye.